recording started, sir.
Okay. Om Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedanscha Prahinoti Tasmai Tam Hadevam Atma Buddhi Prakasham Mumukshurvai Sharanamaham Prapadye Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Sarvalokanam Bhishaje Bhavaroginam Nidhaye Sarvavidyanam Sri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Okay. We stopped at 338 last week. Can we continue? Any questions, anybody?
No.
No questions, Vasudevan.
Right. So we'll move on to 339. Sarvatmana
Sarvatmana
Bandha Vimukti Hetuhu.
Bandha Vimukti Hetuhu
Sarvatma Bhavat
Sarvatma Bhavat
Na Parosti Kaschit
Na Parosti Kaschit
Drishyagrahe Sati
Drishyagrahe Sati
Upapadyate Sau
Upapadyate Sau
Sarvatma Bhavosya
Sarvatma Bhavotsya
Tadatma Nishtaya.
Sadatma Nishtaya.
Tadatma Nishtaya. Sarvatmana Bandha Vimukti Hetuhu Sarvatma Bhavan Na Parosti Kaschit Drishyagrahe Satyupapadyate Sau Sarvatma Bhavosya Tadatma Nishtaya. So, I think in the previous sloka itself, we had an introduction to the Sarvatma Bhava. Sarvatma Bhava, I think we've been using this word for quite some time now, but only in the last couple of shlokas, Acharya has explicitly started talking about this topic. So, what exactly is this Sarvatma Bhava? Okay. Sarvam Atma iti Bhava or Darshanam is Sarvatma Bhava. That means you look at everything as yourself. Atma means oneself. And here the oneself is not your body mind complex self. It is the Akhanda Chaitanya Swarupam self. So you first have to identify yourself with that Akhanda Brahma Chaitanyam. And that's what we saw in that 338 Tyakta Akhila Upadhihi. No, that Tyakta Akhila Upadhihi refers to negation of all Nama Rupa. Upadhi is basically Nama Rupa, name and form. And the name and form, not only in the external world is negated, even your own body mind complex is a name and form that is superimposed on your true nature. So that also has to be negated. Only then you will identify yourself first as that Akhanda Brahma Swarupa Chaitanyam. And then whenever you see anything in the world, it should occur to you that this is not really something different. This is just my own reflection I'm seeing. Okay. Now, Acharya will say in this shloka the same idea in a slightly different language. So the first word, the third line, first word, Drishya Agrahe. Drishya Agraham. The word Drishyam refers to anything that you objectify. Anything that you see or experience with through your sense organs is drishyam. So that refers to the objective world and also to your body mind complex. Agraham means, graham means to hold on to. Graham basically means the word graha is to catch hold of. Agraham means not to catch hold of, which means to give up. So drishya agraham means you give up. What do you mean give up? How can you just give up? So the word give up here means give up all your attachments, emotional attachment. That is raga dvesha abhava. So you give up any attachment, or what is the opposite of attachment?
Detachment.
Detachment.
Attachment is not the exact opposite. It's, attachment means emotionally you are attracted. Repulsion.
Repulsion. Yeah.
Vairagyam. Vairagyam.
Repulsion.
Ah, okay, okay.
See, vairagyam is different. See, vairagyam is something that you develop within yourself.
Okay, sir.
Vairagyam is a quality that you develop in yourself. But the opposite of attraction is repulsion.
Right.
Okay, so
Okay.
raga is attraction to something, dvesha is aversion to something. So when you give up attachment and aversion to everything in the world around you, then you are not holding on to the external world. So that is the implied meaning. And my guru gives an example. Let's say you find a currency note lying on the road. Let's say it is some $100 note or €100 note. You pick it up because it's money, right? And then somewhere you find out it is not actually a real currency, it's a fake currency. Then you are no longer interested in holding on to it. Your attachment to that currency note is gone because you realize it is fake. Exactly like that, when you realize that this world is fake, it is not really real, then you will eventually give up attachment to the world. And similarly, let's say we'll go back to the Vedantic example of rope snake. You see a rope, but mistake it to be a snake. Yeah, and so you develop fear by seeing that rope. But then somebody shines a torchlight on it and says, look, this is not a snake, this is just a rope. So the moment you realize that the so-called snake is not a real snake, but an imagined snake, your fear about that rope is gone. So there are two examples for both cases. So by realizing that the world is not real, the world is only a fake appearance, you motivate yourself to give up your attachment and aversion to the objective world. So that is a drishya agraham. So that is the central word that operationalizes this shloka. Okay. So bandha vimukti hetuhu, the first line, second half. Bandha vimukti hetuhu means hetuhu is a cause. Bandha is your samsara, your suffering. Bandha vimukti means freedom or liberation from this suffering. So bandha vimukti hetuhu is that which can open the door to your liberation from this suffering. That is bandha vimukti hetuhu. Sarvatma bhavat na paraha asti. So this sarvatma bhava that we saw a few minutes back, accepting everything around you as your own self and avoiding attraction or aversion to it, when you develop that sarvatma bhava, that is the most important bandha vimukti hetu, and there is nothing superior to it. So that sarvatma bhavat na parosti kaschit. Paraha means superior.
Yeah.
Na parosti kaschit means there is nothing superior to sarvatma bhava when it comes to liberating you from the clutches of this world. So that is the first two lines. Sarvatmana means to be done by everybody. Sarvatmana here means you can say all people interested in liberation. That is one meaning of Sarvatmana. Or you can say Sarvatmana for your own self. You say, with all your focus and energy. That's also Sarvatmana. You have to get involved in this development of Sarvatma Bhava with all your resources, all the resources at your disposal. All the time, energy, emotion. You invest everything in developing the Sarvatma Bhava, because that is the most effective key to your liberation. Sarvatma Bhava na parosti kaschit. There is nothing superior to it. That's the supreme. Okay. So then, Drishya agrahe sati upapadyate asau. And by practicing this Drishya agraham, by practicing this, how do you say that? Reducing your ragadvesha to the world. That is the exercise. That reducing the ragadvesha to the world is the exercise through which you gradually develop this Sarvatma Bhava. So that is the meaning. Drishya agrahe sati upapadyaste asau. Upapadyate means it is accomplished. This Sarvatma Bhava is accomplished through the practice of continuously telling yourself not to develop attachment or aversion to the world. Okay? Sadatma nishtaya. The Sadatma nishtaya means Satatma, Satyatma. Here the Sadatma refers to your true identity as the Brahma Chaitanya Swarupam. So by focusing on, there are two parts to it. On the one side, when you think of yourself, you think of yourself as Brahma Chaitanyam, Akhanda Swarupam, all that. Purnam, Aham Purnaha and all that. And when you look at the world, you tell that this world is just an appearance, so there is no point in having any attachment, detachment. So you bring the Drishya Agraha for the Anatma. So you treat the Atma with a true identity, you treat the Anatma, giving it its false attributes and say, look, I won't get attached to you, or I won't get repulsed by you. By developing these two in parallel, you develop this Sarvatma Bhavaha. So that is the overall picture given in the 339 shloka. Okay, was that clear?
Yes.
Yes, Vasudevanji.
Okay, so I hope there are no questions. If there are questions, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll go to the next shloka.
This was clear, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good. 340. Drishyagrahanam.
Drishyagrahanam. Drishyasyagrahanam.
Drishyasyagrahanam.
Correct. Sorry, Drishyasyagrahanam. Yeah, correct. Drishyasyagrahanam.
Drishyasyagrahanam.
Katham nu ghatate.
Katham nu ghatate.
Dehatmana tishthatah.
Dehatmana tishthatah.
Bahyarthanubhava.
Bahyarthanubhava.
Prasakta manasaha.
Prasakta manasaha.
Tattat kriyam kurvatah.
Tattat kriyam kurvatah.
Actually, that's one word actually. I should not have split, but for convenience, I split. Bahyarthanubhava prasakta manasaha is one word.
Yeah.
That's a little tough. Okay, anyway. So, Sanyastakila dharma karma vishayaihi.
Sanyastakila dharma karma vishayaihi.
Nityatma nishthaparaihi.
Nityatma nishthaparaihi.
Tattvajnaihi.
Tattvajnaihi.
Karaniyam atmani sada.
Karaniyam atmani sada.
Anandechubhihi.
Anandechubhihi.
Yat yatnatah.
Yatnatah.
दृश्यस्याग्रहणं कथं नु घटते देहात्मना तिष्ठतो बाह्यार्थानुभव प्रसक्त मनसस्तत्तत्क्रियां कुर्वतः अन्यस्ताखिल धर्मकर्म विषयैर्नित्यात्मनिष्ठापरैः तत्त्वज्ञैः करणीयमात्मनि सदानन्देच्छुभिर्यत्नतः. Okay, so दृश्यस्य अग्रहणं, that's the same as दृश्याग्रहम् of the previous श्लोक.
Yeah.
Drishyasya agrahanam. So by giving up attachment and aversion to the external world, katham nu ghatate dehatmana tishtatah. So here he is talking about those who have not succeeded in giving up their body mind identification. So the word he is using is dehatmana tishtatah. So dehatmana means they are strongly identified with their own body-mind complex and all the other things that come with the body. All the possessions, all the material, attachments, all the relationships, all the positions, power, all of that is attached to the body. It all comes with the body. So they are so strongly identified with the body that they cannot give up all these attachments so easily. So they're clinging on to that. So such a person is called Dehatmana Tishtantah. Okay. Tishtan. It's a difficult grammar in Sanskrit. Tishtataha actually is a Sambandhakaraka, sixth case. Okay, for them. Okay, so the real nominative is Tishtan. Tishtan is the nominative. Tishtataha is the sixth case. Anyway, that's grammar. Let's not go there. Yeah, Drishyasya agrahanam katham nu ghatate. How can such a person give up the perception of the world or attributing reality to the world? No, when the person does not do Drishyasya agrahanam, obviously he attributes reality to the world. So he develops ragadvesha. That's what it means. So he cannot easily give up ragadvesha. That is the meaning of the first line. And some more adjectives to describe such a person. Bahyartha anubhava prasakta manasaha. So this person is always strongly going after external experiences. It could be any kind of experience. It could be meeting friends and enjoying time with them, going for a party, or enjoying all kinds of food, and or going to movies. You can fill up the blank. There are 1,000 things people do which keep them busy with all the external activities. So bahyartha means external objects. Anubhava prasakta manasa. Prasakta means obsessed. Anubhava is the experience. Yeah, so they go from one experience to another, looking for happiness in all these experiences, and they are always pursuing happiness from the external world. That is bahyartha anubhava prasakta manasaha tattat kriyam kurvatah. So to achieve that experiential happiness, they keep doing different things. One day they go to some music concert, another day they go to some kind of a cocktail party or whatever, another day they go to watch some movie, all those things. So tattat kriyam kurvatah. So they are engaged in various activities. Or it could be some very ambitious CEO trying to make his next million. That's also possible. So he goes from one customer meeting to another, purchasing, chasing deals and all that. So it's not necessarily only entertainment. It is also all the material wealth and so on. So you add everything under that. Okay. So the first two lines tell you how it is extremely difficult for a body-mind fixated person to give up all these attachments. And so what is the solution? Third line. Sanyastakhila dharma karma vishayaihi. So this again comes down to the same teaching we saw some 7 or 8 shlokas back, where we said Kriya Chinta. reduce these two. If you remember, some 3 weeks back or so, we saw a portion in the Vivek Chudamani where Acharya said that the ahankara vasana induces you to pursue activities and thereby the activity related worries and thoughts. That is one direction. And in the reverse direction, the more activities you pursue and the more you think about the activities, the ahankara vasana also gets enhanced. So they are mutually enhancing. So one way to reduce your ahankara vasana and thereby reduce the ragadvesha tendency is to deliberately reduce your activities. Okay. So sanyasta akhila dharma karma vishayaihi. So the word dharma here refers to all the Vedic karmas. In those days, at least in Shankaracharya's time, there were a lot of people called karmakandis. The word karmakandi is used even today. A karmakandi is one who's very religiously performing all the rituals mentioned in the Vedas. In the Purva Bhaga of the Vedas, there are a lot of rituals, lot of yajnas, a lot of other upasana, all those things are prescribed. So this person performs all those rituals very sincerely. That is dharma. And karma is all the laukika activities. All those activities which are not necessarily prescribed in the shastras, but which one may start out of one's own desire. So that is dharma and karma. So akhila dharma karma sanyasta means give up. So one who has given up all those activities, and given up means not totally. Again, we have to remember, one cannot give up all activities completely. There is some small amount of activity which will remain, but that is the bare minimum you have to carry on with. So by such a person, and by avoiding all these activities, what happens? He gains a lot of time. So he can spend a lot of quality time on nididhyasanam and on recapping or recapitulating the teachings in the form of nididhyasanam. So that is called nityatma nishthaparaihi. So this person, he saves a lot of time by avoiding all those activities, and that saved time he utilizes to perform nididhyasanam either by sitting in meditation or nididhyasanam. There are different ways of performing nididhyasanam. You can try to recollect the teaching in many ways. You can, if you have the teachings in a book, you can read the book repeatedly. Or if you have taken notes during the Shravanam phase, you can try to read through your notes. Or if you have somebody who has the same kind of interest, you can discuss the teachings with those people. That's called satsanga. So there are different ways of recollecting the teachings and focusing on the teachings repeatedly. That is your atmanishtha paraha. So this person is on a regular basis in touch with the teaching, and that's not just enough, then leads an alert life by making sure that his behavior is in line with the teachings that he has learnt in the Shravanam phase. That is the most important. It is not enough if one has a lot of teachings in the head, but then at a behavioral level, he is still behaving like an ajnani. No, that behavior should reflect the jnanam. So you start reducing your FIR. I don't know if you remember FIR.
Yes.
Frequency, intensity, and recovery time.
Recovery.
Yeah. So you watch your reactions to external happenings, and you calibrate your emotional response, and you try to minimize very violent response to the maximum possible. So all that goes in the name of nididhyasanam. So lead an alert living, alert life, and also keep in touch with the teachings. Tattvajnaihi, such a person is called tattvajna. So tattvajna means one who has learnt about the reality, learnt through the shastric teachings. Tattvajnaihi karaniyam. Karaniyam means it is to be done. It has the same meaning as kartavyam. Kartavyam means it must be done. It's an injunction. It's an injunction you must do. Yeah. So this person has to pursue this alert living style of nididhyasanam. Atmani means through one's own effort. Then sadananda ichubhihi yatnataha. Sadanandaha means here Satya Anandaha, which is referring to the Brahmananda. Sat Ananda is one way to split it. Sada Anandaha is another way to split it. Sada Ananda means you're always happy. Always happy in the sense you're always having a peaceful, tranquil, poised mind that is not upset easily. You know, there are people who are very particular about how the things around them should be organized. So they have to live in a particular setup. And if that setup is disturbed slightly, they become upset. So setup reversed upset. So that has to be minimized. That upset has to be minimized to the extent possible. And then you are able to enjoy a certain peace and tranquility over a long period of time. And that peace and tranquility comes from within you, not from any external object. So, sad anande chubhihi, ichubhihi here means one who is desirous of. Ichha means desire. Ichuhu is the person who carries a desire, and this desire is for Atmanubhava. This desire is for Sarvatma Bhava. So this is not a desire for external object, but this Ichha is a good Ichha. You want to become a successful Nididhyasaka, you want to achieve Sarvatma Bhava. So for those people, this exercise has to be performed yatnataha. Yatnataha means deliberately by planning to follow that path. So it doesn't happen by accident. It has to be through one's own initiative. In the Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter, there's a shloka that says, Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanam avasadite atmaiva hyatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. That shloka is a beautiful shloka because it says you are either successful or you are a failure. Both outcomes depend on your mind. Atmaiva hyatmano bandhu. Your mind is your best friend. Atmaiva ripuratmanaha. Your mind is the worst enemy for you. How is it possible? How can that mind be your best friend and your best enemy at the same time? No, it's not that. If you train your mind properly and if you control your mind properly, your mind can be your best friend. That is case one. But if you don't train your mind properly and if you let your mind wander around as it wishes, then it becomes your worst enemy. So, uddhared atman atmanam. So, you have to uplift yourself through your own effort. That is the meaning of the first line. Uddharet means to uplift oneself. Uddhared atman atmanam. You have to uplift yourself through your own effort. And this shloka is also a kind of a pramanam for the existence of free will. If you cannot uplift yourself with your own initiative, then that means there is no free will. So the very fact that Krishna says that you have to uplift yourself through your own effort is a pramanam that there is something called free will. Okay, but that's a different topic. Okay, so like that, here Shankaracharya says yatnataha. So you have to actually deliberately pursue this line of activity. Otherwise, it will not happen. Okay. So I thought I gave a fairly elaborate description. If there are still some points, we can talk.
Very beautiful description, sir. That's my favorite Gita Shlok also. And the solution was also good. The Nididhyasanam solution. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. So
Yes.
can we move on to 341?
Yep.
Okay. Sarvatma siddhaye
Sarvatma siddhaye
bhikshoho
bhikshoho
So,
krita shravana karmana
krita shravana karmana
samadhim vidadhati
samadhim vidadhati
esha
esha
shantodanta iti shrutihi.
shanto danta iti shrutihi.
सर्वात्म सिद्धये भिक्षोः कृतश्रवण कर्मणः समाधिं विदधात्येषा शान्तोदान्त इति श्रुतिः. Okay, so from this sloka there is a change of topic, in the sense it is still going to be nididhyasanam only, but it is going to be a different form of nididhyasanam from this sloka until 417. So that is about 77 shlokas. From here to 417, 77 shlokas, the Acharya is going to give a very elaborate discourse or explanation of something called Samadhi Abhyasa. Samadhi Abhyasa. What is this Samadhi Abhyasa? So, in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the whole chapter is called Dhyana Yoga, and there Krishna elaborately talks about how to perform meditation or dhyanam. And that portion will probably be expanded in a big way, but here the Acharya also is taking assistance of the Ashtanga Yoga principle that is detailed in the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. Okay, so in the Ashtanga Yoga, Ashtanga basically means there are 8 steps. So you begin with Yama and Niyama. And Yama Niyama, we saw in one of our earlier classes, there are some 10 qualities that you have to, 10 qualities that one has to develop gradually. So they are called generic qualities to be developed. So that is not something you do in a one-time exercise. It's a continuous lifelong exercise. Yama Niyama practice is a lifelong exercise. Then there are specific things that one has to do, which starts from asana, pranayama, pratyahara. Those 6 steps are called specific steps in the dhyanam. Okay, there the asana and pranayama are more at the physical and prana level, and then the dharana, dhyana, pratyahara onwards. Even pratyahara means to start bringing your sense organs away from external, from what you called there's a word for it, extrovertedness. Yeah, so you make your sense organs more and more introverted, so withdraw the sense organ from the external world. Then that is pratyahara. Then dharana, dhyana, samadhi. That samadhi, in this section the Acharya will split into 2 steps. One is savikalpaka samadhi, the other is nirvikalpaka samadhi. So for our for our purpose of samadhi abhyasa, we will only talk about dharana, dhyana, savikalpaka samadhi, nirvikalpaka samadhi. Okay, it is the last 3 steps of Ashtanga Yoga, but the 8th step is split into 2. So it will be 4 in our discussion. Okay, now what is this dharana? In the yoga context, dharana is to hold, or trying to fix the mind in one place. The mind is like the child, 2-year-old, 3-year-old children. When the mother wants to feed the child, she'll pull the child and put the child on the lap and give 1 teaspoon of food. And then by the time she takes the second spoon, the child will run away. And then she has to drag the child all the way back and feed the second spoon. Okay. So like that, the mind also runs away. So one has to pull the mind back and keep it in one place. Okay. So that effort of pulling the mind is dharana. The exercise of keeping it there is dhyana. The exercise of keeping the mind in one topic or one thought is dhyana. And savikalpaka samadhi and nirvikalpaka samadhi are basically getting absorbed in that thought. So in the savikalpaka state, the absorption is deliberate. And in the nirvikalpaka state, the absorption is automatic. So you don't require any more effort. In the savikalpaka state, the absorption comes with effort and you can easily get distracted. Whereas once you cross the savikalpaka state and enter the nirvikalpaka state, you no longer require an effort. The mind is automatically absorbed in that thought. So this is the general description of the dharana, dhyana and the two states of samadhi. Okay, now in Ashtanga Yoga, what they do is they tell you to focus on various chakras. There are 7 chakras in the body, and starting from Mooladhara right up to Sahasrara chakra, they have some 7 spots in the body which are defined as 7 different chakras. And depending on your level of evolution in that ladder, you will focus on one or the other chakra, and that will be your samadhi target. Samadhi target. Whereas in the Vedantic meditation that we try to practice in this section, and also what is considered in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the objective is not to focus on the chakra or to achieve a blank state of mind. That is not the objective. Instead, we use that one or another or some other teaching of the Vedantic teaching, and we repeat that mantra. So it is, and another difference is in the earlier stage of Nididhyasanam, where we were saying alert living and keeping in touch with the teachings and all that, we did not define any conditions for how your environment should be. Should you sit in this place or that place? That was not restricted in any way. But here in the Samadhi Abhyasa, there are restrictions on where you have to sit and meditate, how you must sit, what kind of a seat you must have, what must be your posture. All those are defined. So you try to create a controlled environment. One aspect is you try to create a controlled environment for the meditation, and then the focus of the mind is for a specific purpose. To give an example, let's say somebody is not having good health. They're having some health issue. As long as the health issue is relatively minor, you can just visit a doctor and take medicine and continue with your other activities as usual, but keep taking the medicine. So the alert living Nididhyasanam is like that. The alert living Nididhyasanam that we talked about, keeping in touch with the teachings and all that, is like going to a doctor, taking the medicine and continue to live your normal life. Whereas the Samadhi Abhyasa is for someone whose sickness is very acute, and let's say the person has to be admitted to the hospital or he must be taken to the ICU. So it is a very intense treatment. So normally, for most people or many people, the more relaxed form of Nididhyasanam will produce a result. So they do not have to come to Samadhi Abhyasa. So Samadhi Abhyasa is not compulsory. But there are some cases where going through Shravanam and Mananam and trying to live an alert life and keeping in touch with the teaching, all that is still not able to produce the desired result, they still have some emotional problem. And for those people, the samadhi abhyasa is like giving a particular ICU treatment or particular surgery. You can take those examples. Yeah. So for instance, if a person feels, that I don't have much money, but my neighbor has a lot of money, or somebody else, somebody else in my relative circle is more rich than me. So that sense of limitation is troubling that person. This person can then meditate on aham purnaha. I am complete in all respects. So that should be the meditation for him. Or let's say the person has some problem with some relationships. In that case, the meditation can be aham asangaha, because atma is asangaha. Asangaha means not connected with anything. Okay, so depending on what exactly the person's problem is, this person's meditation goal will also be focused. So this is actually a controlled, or rather focused recollection of the Vedantic teachings in a controlled environment. You can take this as the definition of samadhi abhyasa. Okay, was that much clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So a person for whom the nididhyasa process does not work because of the emotional baggage that he has, if he is still trying to move towards the sarvatma bhava, then he will be taking the samadhi abhyasa. Am I right, sir?
Correct.
And okay,
Yeah.
right, sir.
Come on. What else?
Oh, sorry. And the Vedantic approach, I mean, Ashtanga Yoga talks about in other way, but the Vedantic approach is you have to remember any of the Mahavakyams,
Correct.
and that particular Mahavakyam that you choose should also be a solution to the problem that existed. So
Correct.
it's like that.
Correct.
Okay.
So it is not a generic prescription that everybody follows the same mantra.
Okay.
A person has to choose a mantra that addresses his specific problem in a proper way.
Beautiful, sir.
So
you also said
will
very
be different for
beautifully.
different people.
Different. You also said very beautifully that samadhi abhyasa is only a special thing.
Yeah.
So this is something different I saw, because there was a topic where some people said meditation it's not at all required.
Yeah,
and some were saying meditation is required. So what
Correct.
is the link that is missing? That was the question that was in my mind. Today I got the answer. So as I always say, God always directs me here for the answer. So the link is for people who have this emotional thing, and samadhi abhyasam will be a solution.
Correct.
For others, not. Okay.
Correct.
Beautiful,
So
beautiful, sir.
It is a sort of an intense revision of the teaching.
Right.
It's a very intense, for those who are familiar with the exam preparation, example. It's like having a intense combined study or intense overnight study before the exam. It's something like that.
Right. And for a jnani, because he is always in the state, nothing of this is needed for him. Right, sir? Even
see, jnani, again, there are grihastha jnanis, there are sannyasi jnanis.
Okay.
So for the sannyasi jnani, the opportunity to get disturbed are very less. Because he is anyway out of the society, out of the family, he has very little commitments. So the chances of him getting upset because of something is fairly less. Whereas for a grihastha jnani who is intensely involved in day-to-day activities, in the worldly activities, there are much more chances of getting upset. And so the irony is, it is the grihastha jnani who doesn't have the time for nididhyasanam, but it is the grihastha jnani who has more necessity for nididhyasanam.
Yeah. How ironic.
Yeah. So somehow the grihastha jnani, if he thinks that the regular way of nididhyasanam, alert living and all that is not helping him, then he has the option of sitting in this samadhi abhyasa for whatever time his schedule permits.
Okay.
But normally to get into that samadhi thing itself, you need about minimum 20-25 minutes.
Right. Right.
And of course, once you start practicing, maybe after a few months, you can reach that samadhi very quickly. But
Hmm.
initially, to start going in that path, one must be able to, one must be willing to invest a certain amount of time.
Right.
Because if you
Right.
just sit for 5 minutes with closed eyes and get up, nothing will happen.
Right. That is where also I think we have this division, Savikalpa, Nirvikalpa. As you said, one has to put some effort to get it, and that will be Savikalpa. And when the person gets already naturally, then it is Nirvikalpa. Am I getting it right, sir?
Yeah, that's correct. That's exactly how it is defined.
Okay.
So the
No, this
absorption.
place. Okay.
What? No. What was that? I didn't get that. You
Also,
said something?
when you were explaining, you said that this person has to put some effort for doing the samadhi abhyasa. So as he is putting effort, then I think he is in the savikalpa state. Am I right, sir?
No. I see the effort. I meant there are two stages. I'm saying. See, to sit in, to pursue this entire samadhi abhyasa itself, you need some time.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Starting from dharana, dhyana, and the two samadhi states itself. Initially, you may have to allocate some 30-40 minutes. And in those 40 minutes, initially, you may not even reach nirvikalpa state. You may not even reach nirvikalpa state. You may not even reach savikalpa state. Depends on what your circumstances. But then, if you consistently invest that 30-40 minutes regularly, you will then start seeing the benefits. Then you will start getting into savikalpa quickly. And then after some time, you will even start getting into nirvikalpa quickly. So the duration of nirvikalpa will keep increasing over a period.
Right.
But
so this is the experience part. Right.
To reach that state, you will have to spend maybe 3 to 6 months practicing. That is my point.
Right, sir. Got you, sir. So this is the experience part, and this is a vorbereitung for the experience. Right, sir. Got you.
Correct.
Right, sir. Thank you,
So
sir.
the effort, second effort I said is, in the savikalpa state, you need to deliberately get absorbed, and in the nirvikalpa state, your mind is automatically absorbed.
Absorb.
That is
It goes
second
easy.
level effort.
Right.
Okay.
Expecting, sir. Right, sir.
Right. So
Thank you,
we'll
sir.
go to the shloka proper. All this was just a preamble for the shloka. Let's do the shloka now. Sarvatma siddhaye vikshoho kritashravana karmanaha. So the word Sarvatma Siddhi really means Sarvatma Bhava Siddhi. So Siddhi means success. So to achieve the Sarvatma Bhava successfully, Bhikshoho. Bhikshoho, here the word Bhikshu means, really Bhikshu means sannyasi, but here the word can be expanded to say one who is interested in moksha. Mumukshubihi you can take. So for the spiritual seeker who wants to succeed in acquiring this Sarvatma Bhava and Kritashravana Karmana, and that Bhikshu or Mumukshu must also have undergone Shravanam and Mananam. That word Kritashravana Karmana means one who has performed Shravanam and Mananam. So the point to remember again is, you cannot do Nididhyasanam without having gone through Shravanam and Mananam. Okay, so Nididhyasanam has to be preceded by Shravanam and Mananam. Otherwise, what will you meditate on? You are supposed to meditate on this Vedantic teaching, and you will know the Vedantic teaching only if you have undergone Shravanam and Mananam. Okay, so that is the precondition. Samadhim vidadhati esha. Samadhim vidadhati means this person will manage to, samadhi vidadhati means prescribes. Yeah. So the Shruti, the word Shruti comes in the end of the shloka. Shruti means the Vedic statement. So the Vedic statement prescribes samadhi. So Shruti samadhim vidadhati. The Vedic statement enjoins the sadhaka to go into samadhi abhyasa. And what is that Shruti statement? Shantodanta iti Shrutihi. So this Shantodanta is actually the beginning of a mantra in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I think it comes in the 4th chapter, if I'm right. It's probably called Shariraka Brahmanam or something. So Shantodanta Uparatah Titikshuhu Shraddhavitto Bhutva Atmanyevatmana Tushtaha. I think that's a mantra. Shanto Danta Uparatah Titikshuhu Shraddhavitto Bhutva Atmanyevatmana Tushtaha. That is the Brihadaranyaka mantra. So the reference, Acharya gives the reference to that mantra here by mentioning Shanto Danta iti. So there, the mantra uses these 5 or 6 qualities. You know, this Shanta Danta is actually a reference to what we learnt long back as Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. If you remember the very first few sessions, we talked about Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti. 4 major qualities that one has to acquire. It begins with Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, Mumukshutvam. And in Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, we talked about 6 qualities. Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam. So this Shantodanta is a reference to Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, which is actually a prerequisite before one comes to Shravanam. No, really speaking, when you go in the proper Vedic tradition, one has to first acquire these qualities and then only go into Shravanam. But, you know, this being Kali Yuga, we all do the things in the reverse order. So we first come to Shravanam and Mananam, and then we start acquiring these qualities. It is like clearing your PhD and then trying to go to class 1 or class 2. Okay, but that's what is happening in most cases. So while the Upanishad lays down this Shantodanta qualities as a prerequisite, here the Shankaracharya brings it as the outcome of the Samadhi Abhyasa. So by practicing Samadhi Abhyasa, what we are essentially doing is we are trying to make up for the deficient Samadhi Shatka qualities. And we take the help of the Vedic statements to achieve that end. Okay. Is that clear, or did it cause some confusion?
It was clear, sir.
Huh?
It's clear.
Okay.
It's clear it
Right.
is, but one has to remember all those final points.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yes,
you know, very often
exactly.
one has to go back to the previous sessions and pick up some
Exactly.
piece of
Yeah,
teaching
yeah,
from there. Otherwise,
yeah,
you know, they'll all sound very disconnected.
yeah.
So actually, it is one single body of teaching, and so from time to time we have to remember what the initial steps are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the introduction to Samadhi Abhyasa in this shloka. And from the next shloka, as I said, for the next 77 shlokas, we are going to see a very, very detailed, elaborate, and deep analysis of the Samadhi Abhyasa form of Nididhyasanam. Okay. So I'll stop here for today and we'll continue from the next week. Okay.
Thank you very
Any
much.
discussions so far, or can we close?
It was
No
very
questions,
interesting.
Vasudevanji.
No
But
questions.
next week, will there be a class?
Well, that is something I cannot say now because I'm
Okay.
still waiting for the Ayya of the temple to confirm whether, you know, that Parayanam is happening or not.
Okay.
So I will have to give you a message maybe a few hours before whether we are having the class or not having it.
Okay.
Please.
Actually, I'll be traveling to India, Vasudevanji, on Tuesday. So I will try to make it. I'll probably be in the flight, but if I miss, I will definitely go through the recording.
No problem, sir. Right. So regarding today, any questions, discussions, or can we close?
No
Okay.
questions from
Really
me.
nice, sir. I got my answer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Oh,
Thank you, Vasudevanji.
right. We will then chant the closing prayers. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Sarvesham Swastirбhavatu Sarvesham Shantirbhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarvepi Sukhinas Santu Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Namaskar.